So let's put our hands together, Mrs. Jessica Markarian.
Well, good afternoon, ladies. Thank you, Sonia, so much just for that wonderful introduction and those kind words. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here, to be in Florida. I'm from the north, and so right now it's freezing cold. My mom just came all the way from Michigan, and she almost had her flight canceled because of all the snow. So it's been amazing and incredible to be here. And I also just want to say the testimonies that you sisters shared were so amazing. To me, that defines our weakness. When we're so able to vulnerably share our weakness, to me, that's what makes somebody strong. To me, that's what makes somebody truly incredible. Not the people that hide it behind a mask, that I'm okay, I got it all together, but the people who are just honest and real, but they give us hope. And it's cool because that's kind of the title of our Women's Day today is Incredible Women. And the word incredible, if you look it up in the dictionary, it means breathtaking, astounding, extraordinary, magnificent, superhuman. Do I have any moms out there? It's, I would say, pretty superhuman because it's interesting. I don't know if this day's been themed after the movie's Incredible 2. And it's cool because the mom in the movie, she's a superhero, and her gift is to be super flexible, very elastic. And I just thought that was kind of perfect for moms because I'm not a mom myself, but I even watched my mom, and I felt like she was always two places at once. She's a woman of many talents, you know, she worked, she, you know, took care of us, and it was just amazing to see that. I just thought it was interesting that that happened to be her superpower in the movie. But incredible also means stunning, impressive, great, miraculous, wondrous, remarkable, spectacular, awe-inspiring. And my favorite one is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I laughed when I read that one. I was like, oh my gosh. But these are adjectives that we all want to be described by. You know, like when a man would call you, you're magnificent, you're extraordinary. Doesn't that just, you know, when somebody says that, you're just like, yes, thank you. You know, it's so empowering to be here that you're incredible. But it's interesting because the world is actually fascinated by incredible things, aka superheroes. And this is why. It's interesting. I looked up the top blockbuster movies of 2018 of last year. The first one, Black Panther. Number 2, Avengers Infinity War. Number 3, Incredibles 2. Number 4, Jurassic World, The Fallen Kingdom. Number 5, Deadpool 2. Number 6, The Grinch. Number 7, Mission Impossible, Fallout. Number 8, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Number 9 was Solo, a Star Wars movie. And number 10 is Venom. Do you guys see the theme here? And what people are kind of gravitating to, at least in this generation right now, is superheroes. Because why? You know, I had to ask, like, why? What's the big fuss about superheroes? They're kind of cool, you know, but why this big fuss about them? But I read a quote, here's a quote from an article I read about it, and it said, in a fallen world full of evil and misfortune, people cling to superheroes as a symbol of virtue that conquer both villains and their own weaknesses, giving a glimmer of hope in a frequently dark world. And it made me see that people are attracted to incredible things because it gives them hope. And it's interesting, the incredible woman of the Bible is, if we turn to Proverbs 31, and it's our theme scripture that Sonia shared earlier. And in Proverbs 31, and if you don't have your Bible, that's okay. I have mine, and I can share. And in Proverbs 31, and verse 25, it says, she is clothed with strength and dignity, and she can laugh at the days to come. I love this scripture, and it's cool when you look up, you know, well, first, you know, when you think about, you know, being clothed, I love clothes. Okay, if any of you know me, I love clothes. And one of my first jobs, actually, I worked at a Plato's Closet and I got to manage it. And so I was just telling Cassie earlier, like when I was in high school, that was my into like trying out new trends and, try to make my mark and be independent and, be my own person. So I look back on pictures and I was like, what was I wearing? But it was awesome. And then my mom raised me to love thrifting. Like she taught me about thrifting before thrifting was kind of a thing. And when thrifting was actually kind of embarrassing at the time, but now it's super awesome because who doesn't want clothes cheap? And actually right now too, it's cool. I started reselling clothes to raise money for missions and stuff, and it's just fun to me because clothing, it can mean so much. And you think about superheroes, when they put on their super suits, they became a completely different person. And we know as women, we put on that nice dress and makeup, and all of a sudden we just feel, just more confident, more like, yes, I'm gonna take over the world. I'm ready for this job interview. I'm ready for what's ever next. And I love how, if you watch the movie, one of my favorite characters in Incredible is Edna. She's actually like their professional super suit creator, and she always makes the suits to like go according to their abilities, their powers and stuff. And my favorite line, I think it was actually in the first one, is Mr. Incredible walks in, he's like, yeah, what about a cape? I want a really nice cape. And she goes, no capes. And her little Edna accent, and it's just really cute. But I love how each of their suits was specific to their superpower. And when we think about the Incredible Woman, what was her superpower? Well, it talks about how she's full of strength and dignity. And the word strength, it means might, power, security, boldness, firmness, toughness, stability. And the word dignity, it means honor, being highly respected, value, taken seriously, influence, and esteemed. What do you think nowadays we as women like to try to clothe ourselves with strength? What do we put on so that we have this superpower of strength? I thought about it, and oftentimes we as women, it's praise and the approval of people. When we get that, we just all of a sudden are like, yes, I am good. I do know what I'm doing. Achievements. People wanting to, get these awards or becoming doctors, these titles can make us feel strong and respected and dignified. Family and relationships, single women, when you have that boyfriend, all of a sudden, sometimes it feels a little bit more like, yes, respect, or having a family, it's just like, yeah, see, I'm established. It shows that I'm a strong woman. Money and finances, when we got that money in the bank account, all of a sudden there's some security there. And so for strength, I don't know if any women out there are like me, but coffee. If I don't have my coffee in the morning, I'm feeling a little weak. I'm feeling a little not too strong or powerful right there, or bold. Being wanted, having that feeling, being sought after, that makes you feel, strong. That makes you feel stable, right? Being better than others. Sometimes that can make us feel strong. Sometimes that can give us a sense of security. Vacations. Sometimes when you take a vacation, it's like, oh, I come back stronger. I come back ready to take on the world. Clothes or things, material things. And I think about that, but living this way, it seems so temporary. It seems so, because these things come and they go. Yeah. These things we can't really control sometimes. Doing campus ministry at Harvard in Boston, it was incredible. I met this girl, and we started studying the Bible, and she had just graduated from Harvard. Harvard, one of the top schools in the world, not just the country, the world. And she was struggling to find a job. Wow. And she was struggling with being an alcoholic because she just was so depressed. And we think getting strength from all these things, is it really worth it? If we turn to Luke chapter 7, there's a woman in the Bible that at first the world didn't see as incredible. At first the world saw as the opposite of incredible. But Jesus saw in a different light. Come on, Jess. And in Luke chapter 7, and in verse 36, it reads, When one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to have dinner with him, he went to a Pharisee's house and reclined at the table. A woman in that town who lived a sinful life learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house. So she came in with an alabaster jar of perfume. As she stood behind him at his feet weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured perfume on them. When the Pharisees who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she is a sinner. Jesus answered him, Simon, I have something to tell you. Tell me, teacher, he said. 2 people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed them 500 denarii and another 50. Neither of them had the money to pay him back, so he forgave the debts of both. Now which of them will love him more? Simon replied, I suppose the one who had a bigger debt forgiven. You have judged correctly, Jesus said. Then he turned towards the woman and said to Simon, do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman, from the time I entered, has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil in my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore, I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, as her great love has been shown. But whoever has been forgiven little, loves little. Then Jesus said to her, your sins are forgiven. The other guests began to say among themselves, who is this who even forgives sins? Jesus said to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Go in peace. You know, I love this story because here Jesus is at this Pharisee's house, and the Pharisees were known to be the ones closest to God. They were known to be the most religious, the people who would teach other people about God. But yet this Pharisee was super skeptical about Jesus. You can tell because he's always questioning Jesus, and his hospitality was actually very poor. Come on, woman, we know how to have hospitality, right? But what I mean is he did not wash Jesus' feet. And in this time, it's kind of equivalent to not even taking his coat off. And that kind of, when you don't take somebody's coat off when they come into your house, it's basically saying, or you're like, hey, keep your coat on. It's basically saying, don't stay long. Don't even bother taking your coat off. You're not going to be here long enough. That's what he did to Jesus. And he didn't greet him with a kiss. And in this time, greeting with a kiss was a sign of, you're my friend. But since he didn't even greet Jesus with a kiss, it's basically symbolizing, you are still an enemy of mine. I'm skeptical about you. You're not, I haven't given my heart to you. And so we see that he didn't fully trust Jesus. But the woman, she's actually nameless. We don't know who she is. And actually what she was known for is her sin. Because that's all Simon the Pharisee knew her was she was a sinner. Imagine being known not by name, but by your weakness. Oh, that's the girl who's the alcoholic. Oh, that's the girl who is into pornography. Oh, that's the girl who's depressed. Oh, that's the girl who insert weakness here. Imagine being known by that. Imagine what she was feeling and being, living a life of constant criticism, shame, being shunned by the good people and abused by the worst. Because many people think that she was actually a prostitute or that she was an adulteress. And who knows why she may have prostituted herself. Maybe she, was a widow. Maybe she was sexually abused as a child. Maybe she was just trying to make ends meet. We don't know her reason why, but what we know is that she had weakness, and that's what people saw her for. But what I love and what makes this woman so incredible was not her trying to look perfect, not trying to cover up her imperfection. She just came in uninvited and threw herself at the feet of Jesus. And it symbolizes her not being invited, but yet Jesus accepting her, meaning that Jesus will accept anyone who comes in. Nobody's nobody's uninvited. Nobody's too far gone to come to Jesus. And at the end of the day, the woman did not try to hide her sin in front of Jesus, But the Pharisee hid behind his sin. He hid behind all these religious acts and these good deeds, but he was an equal sinner. But who left forgiven? It was the woman. And to the world, this woman had not strength nor dignity. But to Jesus, because she came to him, she was the one that left with true strength and dignity. Because we get true strength and dignity in Jesus' presence. There's nowhere else. For me, if I'm very honest, I can totally relate to the Pharisee because I grew up going to church. I'm super grateful for my mom and my dad totally instilling a love for God in my heart. But as I grew up, I always wanted to be the good girl. That's where I kind of got some of my pride was, when I was little, I was like the playground peacekeeper, as my mom called it, whenever our friends, got in qualms or whatever, I was always the one like, hey, just forgive each other, As this little goody two-shoes, I remember getting a lot of, pride because I would compare my report cards to my friends. We'd sit in the back of the car and we'd be like, what'd you get? You got an A? I got an A+, and so and it's something that carried on, and I knew I would never outwardly say that because I don't want to be known for that, but inwardly that was something that was super important, was being better than everyone else. And I tried to hide behind all these good deeds, but really my strength, I would pull it from my family, and it was really challenging because when I was in middle school, my dad, he got diagnosed with a liver disease and had to have a liver transplant, and it was so challenging for my family. I'm so proud of my mom, how she handled it, but I really saw that life is not promised for tomorrow. It really made me see, okay, so for me, what I did is I kind of just immersed myself into friends because we were always at friends' houses and stuff during the time, and I was talking to my mom, I kind of don't remember much of that time because I just immersed myself into my friends. But it's crazy because now, with my friends, I started to develop like this social anxiety around my friends because I needed them so much just to feel strong and to feel secure. But it made me so much to the point where just simple conversations were really a lot of work because I would have to plan it out. And you know how us as women, our thoughts can go completely south and then completely north and then completely all over the place. And some of our thoughts can be very irrational, but they're very real. And so all these thoughts always constantly being like that body language. Is she secretly talking about me behind my back? Ooh, what does she really think about me? How is she really feeling? And so it just consumed me with this insecurity. But yeah, as I was trying to get security from pleasing my friends. And it also led into my relationships in high school. I thought it was really cool. As a freshman, I started dating this upperclassman boyfriend, and he was on the football team, and I was like, yes, I'm one of those girls, and, I'm cool enough as, a young freshman to get the upperclassman boy and stuff like that, and we had a great relationship. He was my first boyfriend, and but over time, we started doing things that I thought that's just what you do, like we started, going further than I really wanted to go, but I was like, well, I'm a Christian, so I'm not gonna have sex with you, but, we'll just, mess around, that's fine, right? I don't know, I didn't know what I was doing. And so, time and time, he'd start going further and further, and it'd make me feel uncomfortable, but I was like, well, I just draw the line at sex, so we're good, we're fine. And it was so heartbreaking because it was probably a couple months into our relationship, he cheated on me. And I was like, wow, okay, well, no security from guys. I'm gonna be that girl who's Miss Independent, don't need no man, you know what? And so I was like, I'm breaking up with you before you have a chance to break up with me because that's where I'm gonna have the dignity in this relationship. But it just really started closing me off, but yet I still deeply desired to be wanted by men. And so it was crazy because I started going back to church because I was like, okay, I want to find a good guy if I'm going to do it. And so I started dating this guy in my church, and he was one of the worship leaders. And I started leading in this, and this was, a time when, I was just insecure and stuff like that. And so I remember after prom, I spent the night over at his house. And I didn't tell my mom or my dad, and I told them that I was actually at my friend's place. All the while, I'm trying to put on this good Christian, leader person in my church. And I spent the night over at his house after prom, and we didn't have sex, but we did everything else. And then the next morning, we went to church, and he sung on the worship team, and I was right there praising God and totally living a double life and hardening my heart because, like this Pharisee, I didn't want to feel any guilt or shame. I just wanted to feel like, yes, I'm religious. I got it all together because I found such security in just looking the part and just looking perfect and just having the good grades, having people like me, having everyone be like, oh, you're so sweet, and having people think that I was perfect when really on the inside, there was so much sin in my heart. And I think about it, if we look back from Proverbs 31, how the Proverbs 31 woman, she could laugh at the days to come. And that can also mean mocking the days to come. We don't mock things that we're scared of. So we see that this woman, she's not scared of the days to come, that she's fearless. And we do this because, she does this because she's in God's presence. And when we're in God's presence, we don't need to give way to fear. And so as women, so what can we fear? We can fear being exposed. I was so scared to be exposed for who I really was. So even when people would correct me, I would have the hardest time taking correction. Because in a sense, I saw my guilt. I was trying to cover it up in my own head. I don't need you to tell me my stuff because I'm already trying to deal with it myself. Because I was just so scared to be exposed. We can be fearful of not being understood. We can be fearful of not being enough. We can be fearful of being judged. But when we're in God's presence, we don't need to give into this fear. Just like as kids, we can feel confident when we're in full of joy, when we're in our parents' presence. I don't know if any of you guys were terrified of thunderstorms or anything as a kid. You're sleeping alone in your bed, all of a sudden the thunderstorms are totally going to come through the roof, strike you and stuff. But as soon as you get into your parents' bedroom, which is right next door, all of a sudden the ceilings and stuff are totally electric proof, and you're totally safe because you're right between your parents, even though nothing has really changed about your circumstances. But it makes me think about how that's the same way when we're in God's presence. Because 1 John chapter 4 and in verse 18 it says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love." And a synonym for the word drive means to hammer out. And so we can see that perfect love, which is God, it hammers out, it stomps out this fear. Because the world, we think about it, the world totally idolizes women that appear fearless and flawless. We look at the models and TV and all of that, and, these women, they have these, stern, I'm tough look, but yeah, I'm still feminine and I'm flawless. And, because the world, that's what we idolize. Is that fierce, courageous look. That's maybe why we also idolize these, Wonder Woman who can jump off of buildings and do all these crazy things that no one else can do. She appears fearless, or she appears to be somebody who overcomes her fear. But I have to ask, what do we fear as women? What do you fear? Because I think about the woman who anointed Jesus. She had lived such a sinful and shameful life, but yet she had no fear of being exposed. That, or she overcame her fear of being exposed and was able to come to Jesus because she knew that true love and security was only found in Jesus. Thinking more about the things that we can fear if we go on an even deeper level, we can fear being out of control. So what does that do? We try to control the things that we think we can control. Like when I was younger, I felt like, part of my life was very out of control. I couldn't control how people thought of me, no matter how hard I tried. And so I was like, well, what I can control is my weight. I can totally control that. I can control how much I eat, how much I don't eat, how much I work out, all of that. I can also control what can come out if I felt like I was out of control. And so for the longest time, because I just wanted that control because I was so scared, I suffered a lot with anorexia and bulimia. It was so challenging, but it was because I wanted control. I wanted to control the one thing that I thought I could in the time. You know, what else can we try to control? Spouses, if you're married, grades, our performance in social gathering, in classes and work. You know, I don't know if any of you are like me, but when I get nervous going to a social gathering, you know, I'm that person who's, let me check my face in the mirror, you know, put on lipstick for the 50 millionth time, you know, rechecking because I'm so, you know, I can get fearful. We can also fear being mistreated or not considered equal, so we're super defensive and easily offended. We can fear messing up so much that we can combat compliments with criticisms so that the pressure to be great is gone. According to the victimsofcrime.org, 1 in 4 girls are sexually abused. And so the fear of being abused, whether it happened to you or you just heard about it, is there. And I just really appreciate, you know, the sisters who share, you know, so vulnerably about what happened. But something like that, I can only imagine would be traumatizing. And it says that we can, and so hearing things like that, we can fear being abused again or become part of a statistic. So we try to appear to be strong as women. We try to be not vulnerable, because when we're vulnerable, that's when we're up for attack. That we have to protect ourselves. Or we push people away and just try to numb out. We fear being hurt or judged or discredited, so we just don't share vulnerably what we're really feeling or who we really are, to paint ourselves with a smile and the I'm all right attitude. I'm great. How are you doing? Fine. How are you doing? Good. We fear people letting us down, so we develop an independent, I don't need anyone attitude. But I have to say, to give way to fear, to these fears are totally understandable. The world can be a scary place. But to give way to fear is to be motivated to do that out of fear of harm, pain, and honestly, we become slaves to our fears. They control us. But fear is overcome by intimately knowing perfect love, which is God. And He's the one that drives out all of our fears, not us. We can't drive out our fears. Only God can be the one that stomps out the fears. And so that we can be like that sinful woman who unashamedly came to Jesus. She was one of the worst of sinners. So maybe you feel like today you're the worst of sinners. Maybe you feel like I am full of weaknesses. Who would want me? If somebody truly knew me, would they like me? Would they want me? But she was the one out of the two. The man who tried to put on a I'm fine attitude. And she was the one that was truly forgiven and left with peace, with tranquility, being able to laugh at the days to come. And so I want to close with, for me, it wasn't until, when I was just starting college, when I was able to study the Bible. But the thing is, I always thought I knew the Bible because I actually at the time was going to a Bible school. I was trying to be a pastor, and I was like, yeah, I know the Bible. What are you going to teach me that I don't know? And it was super prideful of me. But I'm so grateful for God's perseverance with me and the women in my life, including my sister, who helped reach out to me and helped me really sit down and to learn what she had learned. Because something changed in my sister, and I was like, all of a sudden, she's not the girl that I thought she used to be. She was confident. She was sharing with me scriptures, and I was like, I didn't even know you had a Bible. But when I started to really study, I saw how motivated by fear I was, how controlled by different fears that I was, how far from really God's presence I was because of my sin. And how, just like the Pharisee, I kept Jesus in my house, because the Pharisee had Jesus in his house, but how I didn't fully, welcome Jesus into my heart. I welcomed him into part of my heart, but there's areas that, no, I got this. It's just going to be, I'm going to control my fear in this. I'm going to overcome. I don't need you. But when I saw how the women were so willing to share with me their fears, but also in how I could relate, but also how I could overcome through them. They gave me hope. Seeing in these incredible women's lives, I was like, I want that. Wow, they truly are from the inside out incredible. They don't just mask it, but you share vulnerability, but yet they're still so amazing. I want to be that. I want to finally take off this mask. I finally want to be free of these fears of what people will think of me. I want to be free. And it was amazing because learning about the incredible love of God that was what was able to stomp out my fears that kept that kept me from running to Jesus' feet, truly grateful. That kept me from being fearful of the feelings of being guilty and finally being able to just be who I was and not have that secret life in the back corner. To finally be free. And there's a quote that says, from the world, that says, don't find your worth in a man, find it within yourself. I spent a long time trying to find my worth in myself. I needed to find it in a man, and that man was Jesus. Having Jesus' blood cover me and remove my shame, my weakness, my mistakes, my insecurities, and the fear that I was clothed with, he gave me a new option of a new super suit. Come on. I was given God's incredible superpower, which was confidence and security in Jesus. This is what everyone truly desires, true fearlessness, and laughing at what lies ahead, not being afraid of our future, being totally confident that no matter what happens, if our circumstances get worse or if they get better, it's going to be okay, because no longer those are what dictate us. And if this is what you desire, I really want to encourage you and plead with you to ask the woman who brought you out to study the Bible with you so that you can truly become the incredible woman that God created you to be. So thank you.